To date, Squaresoft's Final Fantasy series has sold more than 31 million copies worldwide. And with the European release date of Final Fantasy X still unconfirmed, we offer our privileged readers a glimpse at arguably the most impressive collection of video sequences to see the light of day on Sony's new entertainment system.
We've established now that I only play RPGs at all because of Pokemon. We've done that, we've moved past it. We're all able to move on from that information, okay? But once I did encounter the RPG form, I was always going to play more. And if you're going to play some RPGs, it's only a matter of time before you encounter the RPG franchise. Final Fantasy is famous for each entry in fact not being final at all, having been an ongoing series for, well, at this point, 10 games, but for better or worse, my real first experience of it was right here in 2002 with the 10th entry. I know, I'm not proud of it myself. I can hear you all groaning. What about 7? What about 9? What about 4 or 6? Or that one that was the Japanese one was 6 and it was 4 here, or the other way around. You see, you've already sort of stumbled upon why it took me this long to experience the series. It's just so confusing. You would assume that there must be a running story through it all, but there's not. Common elements repeat in each game, but every entry starts with a new world and a new set of characters. I wasn't to know this, so why would I dive in at part 7? I only really tried 10 because I was looking for things to play on my lovely new PS2, and it was in my local Blockbuster. Oh yes, Blockbuster's still going strong in 2002. With all the PS2 games you might want to rent for 4 days, and I considered this the perfect way to dip my toe into the insanely deep and confusing waters of Final Fantasy without the risk of spending a bunch of money on it.
Right, whatever.
In hindsight, it was quite lucky that it was this particular entry that I tried, as it was the one that most closely resembled the Pokemon style of turn-based RPG. I've mentioned previously that what really appealed to me about this gameplay style is that it gave me time to think about what move I wanted to make, without the time pressure of being swarmed by enemies and having to do something quickly. I didn't realise at the time that Final Fantasy X was the first one in years to employ that particular mechanic, previously having applied something called active time battle in parts 7, 8 and 9. So this was kind of turn-based, but not really. Because if you waited longer than a few seconds to act on your turn, you lost it. That doesn't sound like fun to me at all. But here, with the most pure form of turn-taking, I was in my element. That's not to say that there's no skill to this though. The overdrive moves introduced here give you a super powerful attack, or heal depending on the character, that requires inputting a precise sequence of buttons in just a few seconds to complete successfully, and of course missing one of these can be devastating in a long boss battle, when you've timed it to perfection, so there's jeopardy.
What, are you retarded?
More than that though, Final Fantasy X presented an absolutely stunning fantasy world to get immersed in. These are still early days for the PS2 and we're still being impressed by the raw power and visuals. And there wasn't much else employing that power to create more vibrant environments and characters than this. I know pre-rendered cutscenes aren't impressive today, but back then these were breathtaking. None of us had a DVD player before this, remember? One of the real standouts from a visual perspective are the summons. It's so satisfying to be able to add boss creatures to your own arsenal once you've defeated them, but the animations for summoning each one were pretty jaw-dropping. They provide an appropriate sense of just how powerful these characters are, and it's impossible not to feel badass when you call forth your infernal war demons from the heavens to rain down total destruction on some unsuspecting foes. While I had experienced the JRPG mechanics in Pokemon, I hadn't yet enjoyed the stereotypical range of party characters, from all-rounder main protagonist to tanky, powerful best friend. White mage, dark mage, with big tits. I saw you looking at them, man. Don't say you weren't. I know what you're like. Disgusting.
Dirty.
Fast-moving rogue and weird alien creature that's probably good for something late game, but who joins the party too late for me to really care. There's also my absolute favourite character archetype, the old grizzled veteran who seems to know everything, but is all mysterious and cool. Too cool to actually give you enough information to help you out of the current situation, which actually now I say it out loud doesn't sound that cool. That guy sounds like a proper arsehole. Well, either way.
It all begins here.
Final Fantasy is known for being a series that deals with some weighty themes and generally tells stories that are a bit darker than its contemporaries, and 10's no exception there. The game deals with loss very directly and what we do to move on. Tidus is dealing with the loss of his father and trying to live up to his legend, and that's reflected in how Wakka is dealing with the loss of his brother and his own failure to protect him.
That's the sword you gave Chapu.
Well, he never used it.
When the characters get together and form a kind of found family, there's a real sense of generational renewal as they're all trying to establish themselves away from their pasts. It's relatively complex and interesting for a game in 2002, and it's well worth experiencing the story beneath all the colourful presentation, especially if you can stop yourself being distracted by the fact that Bender from Futurama is Hawaiian now.
Yuna came to this village 10 years ago, when the last calm started.
The calm?
Since then, she's been like a little sister to me and Lulu.
Bender, how could you flush Nibbler down the toilet?
Well, step one, I had to lift the seat. That was the first little annoyance. Am I right, men?
Another huge plus for this game is that the skills tree is one of the most intuitive and accessible I've experienced. And I mean to this point here as we speak in 2025. The sphere grid, as it's called, lays out the potential skills that each character could learn in the form of a huge join-the-dots maze. Each skill leads on to another in a fairly logical way, from increased strength to new stronger attacks on one end, or increased defense leading to more support skills on the other. You make your way through the grid like it's a board game, buying sphere upgrades with XP as you land on each space, and you don't need a 4-hour YouTube tutorial to understand what's happening here. Not much before or since comes close to this level of elegance in a JRPG upgrade tree. For evidence, see the immediate sequel to this game, Final Fantasy X2, in which the upgrade system appears to be the product of 16 coked-up chimpanzees given an unrealistic deadline. Oh, and did I mention Blitzball? No? I wonder why. Come on, this should have been as big as Quidditch. I'm not sure why there's such energy behind finding a way to play a flying ball sport, but this stuff was everywhere in the early 2000s.
They're a living, breathing, statistical impossibility. I've never seen a team this bad.
I really enjoyed Final Fantasy X at the time, but it's only in hindsight that I've realised just how well the game balanced the traditional elements of a JRPG, with more accessible and streamlined design in order to create essentially an RPG blockbuster. It might not be one for the purist, but it did seem tailor-made to my own personal tastes in a role-playing game, and the success of the recent remaster means I'm obviously not alone. It's well worth a play if you haven't tried it, especially if you're looking for an actual turn-based game, rather than the third-person action romps that the Final Fantasy series has now morphed into.
Enthralling gameplay. Simply incredible. This is what PlayStation 2 is all about. Don't believe a word. Do you play it?
I've done it.
Final Fantasy X, rated T for teen, only on PlayStation 2.
Swears.